Oh, look like they had fun. I see Markel. I see Roderick. My cousin. Oh, dude. Yeah. Dang, look like they had a lot of fun. Hold up. I ain't getting no invite. What's wrong with me? Is this you, or has there ever been you? Believe it or not, it's a very common problem. It's called FOMO, the fear of missing out. So we're going to talk about it today. Learning to deal with FOMO. Let's get it. Thanks for joining us on That Christian Fam. If growing in the faith is important to you, hit that subscribe button, because over here we like to encourage, empower, and give you real life practical Christian advice on everyday situations. We drop videos every Tuesday and Friday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, so hit that notification bell while you're at it. All right, y'all, we gonna get into it. Learning to deal with FOMO. Now listen, it's been around since the beginning of time, and it all stems from the need to feel like you belong. Now, if you're an educator, if you've ever paid attention to kids on the playground, especially the first day of school, what do you see? People start chunking each other. They start figuring out, okay, who fits in this group? Which group do I belong in? How advantageous is it for me to hang with the cool kid because I want to be perceived as cool? Who's the cute girl? Who's the handsome boy? Who's athletic because I want to be perceived to be athletic? This starts at a very young age. We start categorizing ourselves along with other people. It's always been around, but as much as I love social media, it seems like it's taken FOMO to a whole nother level. Even though we know it's very unhealthy to compare ourselves to other people, we used to do it in just our little circle. But since the advent of social media, we can compare ourselves to thousands of people at a time. That right there is a recipe for disaster. So let's talk about the dangers of FOMO. It can have you trying things that adversely affect your life that you normally wouldn't do, but you're trying it now simply because you want to fit in the in crowd or fulfill some status quo. This is why the gift of discernment and wisdom is so important. Ask yourself, does this go against my better judgment? Think about it. How many times has somebody told you a disastrous story that usually includes the phrase like, well, against my better judgment, or I knew I shouldn't have? Those right there are the ramifications of conceding the FOMO. If you agree with anything I said, or this is helping your life in any way, shape, or form, hit that subscribe button and like this video. The second danger is you run the risk of becoming someone you don't even recognize. Thirdly, it can disrupt relationships or friendships by causing friction where there was none. You just created it with your FOMO. Here's how to overcome FOMO. Get out your feelings, take the emotion out of it, and do a process of elimination. And say, you know what? Whatever I saw they were doing, I might not have been into that. It could have been a spur of the moment gathering, or the person who organized it may know a lot of the people I know, but they may not know me. Ask yourself, how many times did you have a get together? Did you invite everybody you know, or did you invite a select group of people? Just know that somebody you know who wasn't in that select group of people may have felt left out. Does it mean that they're not cool? Does it mean that there's something wrong with them? Does it mean that you didn't like them? No, it simply means that they were not included in that gathering. It's as simple as that. I mean, there's a ton of possibilities as to why you may not have been included on something, but it doesn't have to mean that there's something wrong with you. Here's some things to consider. What if you've made little idols of people around you? Meaning the only way you feel validation is if you have people around you who may be able to puff you up higher than what you need to be. And I'm gonna get back to that in a minute. What if there's some things that you should miss out on? Everything that's going on may not be for you. God may be preserving you or protecting you from some things. He might be keeping you from getting tangled up into something you shouldn't be. I told you I'm gonna get back to it. What if it's a big slice of humble pie? It might be that you're a little too full of yourself and you think more highly of yourself than you ought to think. A dope verse you might want to keep in mind is John 3:30, which says, he must become greater and I must become less. Knowing who you are and whose you are is so vital. All of this ties into validation. Nikki did a great video on this. I'm gonna drop the link and it's gonna be at the end of this video as well. But the Lord helps us a ton in this area of validation by dropping verses like Psalm 139 verse 14 says, I praise you for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. One of the reasons why people are obsessed with FOMO is because internally they feel like they don't measure up, or they don't measure up where they think they should be, or where they perceive people to be. There's good news for the believer, because Jesus takes all the guesswork and confusion out of it by saying this. It says in Luke chapter 9 verse 23, and he said to all, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. It's broken up into 3 chunks: denying yourself, taking up your cross daily, and following him. But I just want to focus on the first part for now. He says denying yourself. That means stop taking yourself so seriously. Before you knew Christ, you were the main character. It was all about you. It was all about numero uno. But since you've come to Christ, it's no longer about you. It's all about him. He's the main character, and you just have to follow him and trust him with your life. When you know you've already been validated by the one who created you, you don't need to seek validation from nobody else, because if you live for their acceptance, you'll die from their rejection. So don't go in on the folk who didn't include you. Don't cop an attitude or post some passive aggressive post on social media talking about the folk who didn't include you. Just sit back, take a deep breath, talk to God, and realize that whatever you feel like you missed out on, it might be the best thing that didn't happen to you.
Oh no, I got so used to solo. I don't